it out after now that things are calming down maybe a little bit. Thanks for everybody. Thanks for everybody. Robert, yeah, happy for everybody. See ya. You can sit up there. Yeah, I'm sitting there. Pretty great. Pretty great. Pretty great.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Oh, my clicker works here. There we go. So, when I was asked to do a presentation about annual reports, I was like, well, I'm no annual report expert, but I know there's lots of questions about reports and why do we do them? What are my resources that are available? So that's kind of the approach I took it. I definitely am no expert when it comes to writing reports. I do them every year, but I would say that based on the lack of trophies that I've gotten over the years, I'm no expert in writing them, so this is not about how to write reports. This is about why we do them and why it's so important. And also highlight some of the resources that are available to you. So why do we create annual reports? It's a lot of paperwork. Who likes paperwork? Well, the first thing is it's the only official record of what our organization does throughout the year. We're compiling what have we done this year. The Department of Minnesota, American Legion, uses this the information when they go to talk to the legislators, to advocate for our American Legion and our veterans. We are required to do so by Congress. The Auxiliary and the Legion and the Sons are required to report what we do to Congress and to the Veterans Administration. And finally, again, the National American Legion organization also uses this information to help lobby Congress for our mission. So by doing the reporting, starting at the unit, post, squadron, and chapter level, it all consolidates up. So that's why we have to do it. The next question, I know this is fairly new for the auxiliary, is our impact forms, and then for the Legion and SAL, the consolidated post and squadron reports. Why do we have 2 reports? This is extra work. I know that was one of the things that came out when the auxiliary started doing the impact report. And the way that I've kind of come to the conclusion of is that impact report, the consolidated report, is an executive summary of what we do. It's kind of that one paragraph of what we do. The other thing is that we're putting together numbers, and those numbers can be combined from units. I'm going to use the auxiliary terminology here, from units to districts to departments. And when they're numbers and they're consistent, it's a heck of a lot easier to consolidate that into one final number that the national organization can use. And being a numbers person, if you've got different data measurement points, it's hard to consolidate into a concise message. So that's why the impact reports are so important, because it allows can provide a consistent measurement. So the program reports that we do in the auxiliary, we love our program reports, allows us to tell our story. Allows us to explain in more detail what we do and provides the narrative behind it so that we can give examples to our legislators, to Congress, to the Senate, of being able to provide a narrative behind those numbers. So that's why there are 2 sets of reports, for lack of a better term. The other thing I've always thought, I'm like, our unit year ends, our department convention is in July. Why do we have to do this in April? This is so early in the year, we still have a couple months left. But there's a cascading effect to why we have to do it when we do it. So it allows time for each level of the organization to consolidate it so that it can get up to the next level. That's why we started when we do. So the deadlines, and this is kind of a helpful reminder. Again, this is primary for the auxiliary because I know that Legion and SAL have different deadlines, so this is specifically for the auxiliary. Units to the district chairman and to the district presidents is April 15th. It's a day that we shouldn't forget, tax day, which we all love, I'm sure. District to department, so this is where you start seeing the cascading effect. The district chairman and presidents need to get all of their information to their department chairman by April 30th. So you've got about 2 weeks. That's not a lot of time when you think about some of, and I know 4th and 5th are smaller districts, but 6th, 10th, they've got 40, I don't know how big some of the districts are as far as number of units, but there's a lot of work that can go into those larger districts as far as consolidating that information. So department needs that information by April 30th. This is where it starts going up even further. The department chairmen have to get their reports to their national counterparts or division counterparts by May 15th. National needs that information, so we're talking a month from the time that it starts at the unit level to the time it needs to be up to national. And then the other thing that I pulled off when I was doing the research for this is national awards are due by June 1st. So again, it's a cascading effect. That's why we have to have everything in so early. So where do I find annual reports? And Robin, if I have something incorrect here, please correct me. All right. So, when I went back and checked, I know I got an email sent on Wednesday, December 3rd, 2025, by the department office with all the unit reports. So you should have received it on that day or within that range. Now this is where I've got a question mark, so those of you that would have gotten it by paper, I'm assuming it got sent out around the same time. So again, the first part of December is when those reports would have come out from the department for the auxiliary. However, the other thing is, the reports are also available on the website. So if you go onto the website, if you go onto the main website, it says unit resources on the top, and then there's annual reports. So it's available there as well. Some tips and tricks about trophies and awards, and this is really for the department ones. I took this off as some of the information was provided by department. If you're doing pictures, electronic pictures, make sure that you're using the best quality of picture that you can. It's easier to make to change the, what's the word I'm looking for? The sizing.
Yep, sizing.
It's easier to shrink than to make it bigger. You lose something. So that's why we always say use the best quality you can. Read the rules. Beware of the due dates. Again, that's going to be on the individual trophies and awards. Make sure you don't miss your deadlines, because that is an immediate disqualifier. And if you're putting in a lot of work and then you miss a deadline, that's just a waste of time, and you don't want to do that. Send the information to the correct person. Because remember, our chairmen change year after year. So you want to make sure you're sending it to the right person. So Robin already made mention of this, but I also wanted to reemphasize it as well. There's resources available to us to figure out how to do these reports. So the two dates are Monday, February 9th, and Tuesday, February 10th at 7 p.m. It will be the same information, so you can learn out how to do your unit reports. I'm looking forward to attending one of those myself. If you would like to attend, you need to get the Zoom link from Christy. Her email address is listed up here, so it's christy@mnala.org. Email her and she'll send you the link, and let her know which date you want. There's also going to be district training, as was mentioned. That is going to be on Thursday, March 19th at 7 p.m. as well. I didn't put in the department here because I figured the department chairman, you got that information and a little higher than most of us here. And again, if you need the link for the district reporting, you need to contact Christy as well. And that wraps up my part of the presentation. Are there any questions that I might be able to answer? Yes, sir.
There's one thing I learned is that if we do a service project
for another military or quasi-military organization, that counts as part of our service.
Yes.
Another one is blood donations.
Yep.
So there's a few things that, you know, are missed that we can add to our credibility as an organization.
Absolutely. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Matt. Okay. I'm going to go sit down a second.
If we can get the mic up. There you go. All right, good morning. What was just brought up, and it's a good point, is the basis of all of these reports is what you're doing in the community on behalf of the organization. So if you're working with another military organization, you can count those hours yourself on your report. If you're donating blood, that's a big one that we not only have our blood program that we're working with, but that's also something that can be reported onto these forms as well. What I'm going to do is build onto what Jill talked about from the auxiliary and talk about squadron and post a bit. So the same rules are, or the same thinking is in play of why these are important. What I would add, though, is beyond the district, department, national requirements of these forms, what it also does is it gives you, as a local post, as a local squadron, as a local unit, a historical record of what you did during that year. Okay, so when you have community members asking, what does your post do? What does your unit do? What does your Legion family do? You have something that says we've done this over the past year. And the numbers add up really quickly. When you're working with new members, and I'm going to look at Mike Ash, because I know Mike and I have talked about this a couple of times over the years, is the way we recruit members now is vastly different than how we could recruit 20, 30 years ago. And I know this from watching my dad do membership for years. You could walk up to someone easily and say, you're a veteran, let's get you signed up. And it wasn't hard to do. I hear from around the country now, it's harder to get people to sign up because what is it for me? What's in it that makes me want to sign up when there's 18,000 different things splitting up your time? What makes me want to join this and put my effort towards this? One of those ways that you can talk about it is through what your impact is over the course of the year. So I'm going to show you some numbers. This is 2024. This is the Legion, and you can see 4th District, 5th District in Minnesota, statewide. This is what was reported over the last year in impact of the top 5 categories, but really the top 4 categories. So of what was reported, statewide, over $3 million was put in towards Americanism. Over 185,000 hours were put towards Americanism. Okay? So I'm not going to read all the numbers, but you can see how this doesn't, if you think about what we do in our daily lives, this doesn't really reflect that. Because how many people are doing stuff every day and they're like, you just do it. We're not going to worry about reporting it. It's not something we need to do. We'll just do it. It takes longer to report it than to get it done. The miscellaneous internal affairs is kind of a catch-all. So if it doesn't fall into a category, it ends up in internal affairs. And that's why that category is so big. So again, this is the post numbers for 2024. This is the SAL state for 2024. So you add those two together, plus you add the unit in there, you add the riders in there. There's a lot of work being done in our communities every single day throughout the year. Probably about half of it, I'm being generous, is actually being reported. Probably about a third of it is actually being reported. We're taught, at least I remember this growing up, is you're taught to serve, you're taught to dig in, you're taught to get the job done, you're not taught to get the credit for it. You're there to do the work, okay? And that's all valid. That's all well and good. People like to see what we do as an organization. There's always, I would say monthly, a conversation I have with someone who still thinks of the American Legion as the bar down the street. That is their focus. That is their image of what the American Legion is and what the American Legion does. Well, I don't know, 297,000 and over $3 million tells me we're a lot more than the bar down the street. So how do we get that out into the public consistently to show this is what we're doing in our communities. This is what we're doing as a local unit, as a local post. There's another piece with this, is a pride and a celebration of the work that you do. You've put in the hours. Let's celebrate the work that we do throughout the year. Let's celebrate the fact we're making thousands of poppies that go out every year to veterans, to the public, to bring money in to help veterans. How many hours we're doing buddy checks. How many hours we're doing visitations. Boy State, Girl State, oratorical. All of the programs that we're doing, there's countless hours put into that are benefiting our community. Those are things to celebrate. And those are also, again, recruitment tools for people that are not familiar with what we do. In this packet, you're going to see all three reports. You'll see the Consolidated Post Report, you're going to see the Squadron Report, as well as the Impact Report for the unit. If you want fillable versions of these, I recommend going out to the various websites. There are fillable versions of these out there. But take a look and see the different categories. A lot of times, I don't want to say a lot of times, this is bad generalization. Often, we get siloed into each group doing their own thing. And there becomes a silo that forgets what the other groups are doing. So when we're talking about family and a way to get family involved, you look at these reports and you can say, oh, we did that. Oh, we did that. Oh, we've been doing that. Oh, the auxiliary is helping us with that. Why don't we help them with their programs? The Post is doing this. Squadron is doing this. Why don't we help them with their programs? It's part of bringing the family together under one simple principle of service to our veterans, to our families, and to our communities. It's not a hard concept, but it takes a lot of work to break down that silo and instead make skyways, make horizontal skyways between these silos and really connect as a family so that it's not a competition. It's how can we help support you? If there's something that you don't think fits on a report, I will challenge you to reach out to me directly. I'm going to put myself out there. If you think you can't find a way to put it on the report, I'll bet you lunch I could find a place to put it on the report. I'll tell you a funny story. Growing up, this is where I come from on this. Growing up, being the son of two parents active in military organizations, that was my life for most of my youth and teenage years. One particular piece, in VFW has what's called community activities reports. There are impact reports in the American Legion. At one point, I had every VFW unit and district memorized by location because someone got charged with filing and organizing and recording all of those reports for said community activities chairman, who will not be named, that's also in this room. Sorry, Mom. But the reality with that is there's always a place to put it. There's always a place to report something. And I remember countless discussions of
a unit saying, well, we did this and this and this, but we don't know where to put it. Let's find a spot. Let's get it reported somewhere. Okay, it may not be perfect, but let's get it reported somewhere. Deadlines for post and squadron vary by district. So what I will say is typically our general rule, and Ray, please correct me, but usually for 5th District, we want to have them at district convention, the CPRs and CSRs done. That way, from the district standpoint, we can get the numbers ready to hand off to our department and detachment conventions. Okay? So if you're talking calendars, that's kind of where our deadlines are for 5th District. For SAL, we want to have those in by detachment convention. I'm not sure what the 4th District deadlines are for those, so I'm looking at John and others. If you want to chime in.
As soon as humanly possible.
There we go, as soon as humanly possible. Okay? The post report goes from, I'm trying to remember the deadlines where it goes through offhand, I'm sorry. I think it goes to May 31st.
Yes.
Okay, so everything prior to May 31st, from June 1 to May 31st is a period that we report.
And let me add on the auxiliary, we go April 1 to May 35, or March 31. So our reporting year is different than the Legion. April 1 to March 31.
Now, one of the things I'm going to bring up that's also in your packet here, if you look on the back page of this packet, there's a neat little tracking worksheet that's put together by the Legion Auxiliary. I would recommend doing something like this for the SAL and for the post. Create something like this you can hand out to your members. They can put onto their fridge. They can mark the stuff that they do. They can turn it in. You could even have an event that if you turn in your report, you get a drink token, or you get something as an incentive, or get entered into a drawing or something to get those reports turned in. That's an easy way then to get the members involved and to get people thinking about what they're doing on a weekly basis. Again, it's about our whole organization and what we do for the community. Here we go. Any questions that you have for Jill or I? Yes, go ahead.
I'm Carla. I'm from Rosetown. I'm in District 4. And I just observed something in that one of your first ones where you had the consolidated for 4th, 5th, for the Legion, and Minnesota. I noticed that our national security has 0 hours for all 3. But yet part of national security is color guard for military. So why? I mean, I was just at an event for 2 days where we had color guard that probably each of them put in at least 8 hours each. For 4th District. So why, you color guard people?
So I can tell you on the Sun's CSR report, color guard is part of American Indian.
Okay.
So it's put in the American Indian
Okay.
column on the Sun's report.
Okay.
Now, from the Legion point, to just reframe the question if you didn't hear this, is under national security for Legion, we have 0 hours. We have a lot of color guard work being done that doesn't look like it's being reported here. And the reason there's 0 hours is because it wasn't reported either on time or wasn't reported in the right category. So again, it does take a little bit of work to say let's make sure we get these things in here. I know I've got a fly on my shoulder.
No, I was just going to say, it's your interpretation of where it goes. The one thing you don't want to do is double report. So, I mean, that's the other challenge. You want to make sure, well, where does it fit? You do your best, just make sure you don't double, we don't want to double dip either, but, as Matt pointed out, there's, how many units and squadrons aren't reporting versus those that are, which is a lot. But I want to say that I know that 4th and 5th District are some of the best in the department as far as getting their reports in every year.
To speak to that point real quick about, something not showing up in a category, that's something too where when you're looking through the reports and you're doing your summary, you can do simple addition to see okay, we're not looking like we have any hours in this area. Where did we miss something? Or where can we add into this? Or where did we pull from somewhere else to add into this category? That's part of kind of just being complete in the reporting process.
One other question is, so if Minnesota reports zero hours of, of activity, does that affect us at the national level? Other than it looks like, wow, we're not really doing anything?
It affects mostly for awards and things like that.
Okay.
And again, it's data, how do I say this politically? Data is only, the reports are only as good as the data that's entered into the reports and into the form. And how it's then pulled from national, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So there's other things that are pulled in, it may look like this category is 0, but they're seeing this other category as huge. So ultimately it balances out. But it does impact awards, perhaps, for certain categories.
I was just kind of wondering, like, when your lobbyists go to Congress and they look and say, well, we're not going to support that so much because you guys really don't really do anything.
Yeah, keep in mind that this data is combined then with other states, with regions, with national. So when you look at, I encourage you to go out to the Legion website and look up membership impact in the search field, because you'll see monthly the national organization puts out a membership impact report that's basically this numbers, but it's nationwide, and it fills in a lot of those gaps. Because just like with, these are the main categories, this doesn't talk about like, I'll use boys state, girls state as an example. In some of the reports breaks out, number of hours used for boys state, number of dollars spent for boys state. That has an impact as well. And these are just like the top high level categories of things. So a lot of the drilling down kind of fills in some of those gaps. And it is a complex report. I'm not going to say it's not. It is a complex report to fill out. Any other questions? Dave, you had your hand up.
I don't remember what I was going to say, but I did want to make a comment for anybody in the Suns that is filling out your consolidated squadron report. If you look at Veteran Affairs and Rehabilitation, there is a section there for homeless veterans. If anybody is doing any work with homeless veterans, it goes in the VE&E section, not the VA&R. That is being fixed at National to take that homeless veterans out of the VA&R, put it into VE&E.
So anybody that maybe is working with every third Saturday, because that's primarily, that's where a lot of that, on the squadron level.
The important thing that I can't stress enough, and I'll speak for Jill on this too, even if you don't think you have much to put on the report, it is imperative that you turn in a report. It shows that we're still alive. It shows that your post, your squadron, your unit, your chapter is still alive and doing something. Filling out the report counts for something, okay? We have a lot of squadrons that, and on the SAL side, Dave, Sean, remind me, what was our percentage of squadrons this year? It was like
15%?
No, I think it was a little more, 23 or 25%.
Yeah.
So we'll say 23% of our squadrons reported this last year across the state. You know darn well there's more work going on than 23% of our squadrons. And a lot of that may be sucked into the post reports, and that's cool, but the SAL needs to be doing their reports too.
Like say, every squadron, every post, every unit in the state can put down something on a report. Every member in this room, every member in the American Legion family pays 25 cents out of your dues to the Hospital Association. That right there, that is a reportable deal.
The other thing that I want to mention, and again, I know we don't have a large population of riders, but one of the things, my husband, Sean, is the secretary of the state riders. The other thing that we're trying to do as a rider organization is putting together a consolidated chapter report so that the riders can report what we do. So for example, I know Linda has already left, we do the Fund 85 run for veterans, for the Veterans Assistance Fund. That's near and dear to a lot of people that are Legion. The riders take a lot of pride in that. So and there's rides that the riders raise money for that are community based, and we're trying to make sure that that information gets captured as well basically from the chapters up to the state level. So that's another thing to kind of keep in mind. Again, I know this population, we only have a handful of rider chapters, but that is something else from a reporting standpoint that we continue to strive for, is reporting those types of hours too, because for those of us that organize those runs, the countless hours that we put into and gladly do it to get those runs and raising tens of thousands of dollars for the programs that the riders support is also really important as well. So, but yeah, think about that if you're hosting, so.
One thing to stress though, we have a lot of dual members, tri-members, quad members within our organization. You want to make sure you're reporting on one form. Okay, so if you're a dual member, make sure you're not reporting the same hours on both organizations. Split them somehow. It's same like if you're a tri or a quad member, you're basically reporting your hours and whichever category you want to put them in. That's up to you. But that's just one clarification. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
On the Consolidated Post report where it says signature, can I, as a 4th District officer, fill in a report for a post?
So the question is, as a 4th District officer, can you sign off on it for a post?
Yeah.
I'm going to defer to people above my pay grade for that one.
If you're on Legion.org, the only people who have access on Legion.org to the Consolidated Post Report is the adjutant. So the adjutant should be signing your paper report if you're going to do it by paper.
So from Jennifer, if you go through Legion.org, the only one that has access to that on my Legion is going to be the adjutant at the post to fill out that report.
Correct.
And then it's digitally signed with their login. Now, if there's a paper report, however, I think it's up to...
The truth is that National won't know who signed in the form, but for consistency's sake, I would encourage you to get your adjutant to sign it.
So can you hear the answer to that? From a paper standpoint, from national perspective, they're not going to know who the signature is, but we would encourage to have the adjutant sign off on the form. Joe?
The reason I asked the question is because we have some posts that are not very active, and so in order to get 4th District to 100%, I want to be sure that we can submit information about posts that isn't necessarily signed off by a post office.
And what I would recommend, and this goes for the SAL too, is that's a good way to start a conversation with your post or squadron to say we want to make sure we get these hours in for you. Help us get these reported for you. That's also from an SAL side, and I'll say this from being district commander, is a way. It's kind of an easy way to have a reason to check in with the squadron. See what they're up to. Have a reason to check in with the post and see what they're up to and where you can give support.
Is Scouts America qualified as a military organization?
Absolutely. They are listed under Americanism, I believe, or I just ran into it. It is part of, it might be Children and Youth.
Americanism.
There it is. Line 61 of Americanism is sponsored scouting units. and number of youth post-sponsored scouting units, amounts donated scouting activities. Yep, it's right under Americanism on the post side. On the auxiliary side for Girl Scouts, I know it's in here somewhere. Or it can be put in somewhere on the auxiliary side. So yes. Any other questions on that? Good questions. Some of this is kind of complicated stuff. So again, I would encourage, reach out to leadership, reach out to us. We're happy to help you work through these reports to get them in and get them filled out. Again, anything you can think of. I haven't run into anything yet that we haven't been able to put on a report somewhere. Okay, so I challenge you, if you want to test me, I challenge you to find something we can't put on a report. I like a challenge like that.
Also remember, there's no such thing as the Consolidated Post-Report Police.
What was that, Jennifer? You're going to need to speak up.
I said, just also remember, there's no such thing as a Consolidated Post-Report, or the Consolidated Squadron Report Police.
There's no such thing as the police on any of these reports. You don't want to make it completely
You don't want to.
fiction. You don't want complete fiction, but there is no police on it.
But National's not going to come to your post and say, I have your report. Show me that you did.
Nationals aren't going to require proof that you did things, but again, we don't want fiction either.
Leave it at that.
All right, wrapping this up. Any other questions you have for us? All right. So